first day of the insanity called the NCAA tournament. Just opened today. 16 games today, 16 tomorrow, 8 games then on Saturday and Sunday. Insanity. And you know, Psychic, to me, it's really amazing when you think, this morning, there were 64 teams vying for that championship. 64. And by the close of the day on Sunday, we're going to be down to 16. I can't think of another athletic tournament type event that moves as quickly as this one does. 4 days, 48 games played, 48 teams will be eliminated, and all those venues, all the simultaneous games that are going on, we've been watching a whole load of them today, all the TV crews and the cameras. It's just positively an incredible production. And here we are, we're sitting here at a point right now, 9 games have already been played at this point right now. The overall bracket was released last Sunday on Selection Sunday. With very few controversies. There weren't too many. In fact, the selection committee got pretty good reviews. Not like previous years. It wasn't completely free, however, of some discussion. There were many who felt that teams like Miami and Seton Hall, Northwestern, many in this area were screaming that Drexel should have gotten in. I, for one, didn't have much trouble with Drexel not being included. However, I'm going to tell you honestly, I think there was one team that was a little overlooked, and I think that was the Washington Huskies. The Huskies were the Pac-12 conference champion. They had a 14-4 conference record. Overall, they were 22-10. And yet, they did not win their conference tournament. That actually went to Colorado. But the fact is, their record and their schedule, in my opinion, represented enough to put them into the dance. The selection committee was choosing teams, Western Kentucky got in with a 15-18 record. 15-18, Western Kentucky got in. Now, they just lost to Kentucky, all right? 15-8, they didn't even have a winning record. South Florida got in with a 20-13 record. Even ninth seeded right now, UConn, in my opinion, who had a horrible season, they were 20-13. And yet, somehow or another, they overlooked the Washington Huskies at 22-10. I frankly think it was. Anyhow, they're in the NIT, and we'll see whether that pans out for them. It's panning out for Drexel at this point right now in the NIT. Anyhow, you played a bracket, Psychic?
I played a bracket, yes I did. A little controversial.
We were able to abscond your bracket right here.
Yes, there it is.
For everyone to take a look at. And if you take a good look at that, you're going to please a whole load of people here in the Philadelphia area.
Yep.
You're picking Temple to go to the Final Four.
And of course I'm picking my home boys, Mizzou, going to the Final Four.
Yeah, St. Louis to the 8, Alright, well, listen. Psychic never did say that college basketball was his thing.
No, not at all.
And so maybe what we'll do is we'll take a look at one that might be a little more representative of something that you might have put about. That might be mine. We'll take a look at mine. We've got Kentucky, Michigan State. I got Cincinnati going to the Final Four. Some people have looked at me and laughed a little bit about that one, but we'll see. North Carolina going to the Final Four as well. I got Kentucky winning it all. Wait a minute, who do you have actually winning yours in the end?
Mizzou.
Mizzou will win it. Okay. And so it all begins, and the fun just starts there. So we will bring you back up to date on that one next week because we'll be here on Thursday night, and the whole next round of that nonsense next weekend will be kicking up. At this point right now, though, just for the record, you and I are 9-9 in the bracket. So
surprise, surprise.
Let's go over and take a look at just a little bit of NFL stuff. By this point, we would have thought, or at least we were thinking, that we'd be hearing, where Peyton Manning would be heading off and suiting up for his next team. That hasn't quite happened yet at this point. Rockstar Peyton Manning has been doing his tour this past week, greeted by billboards in many communities there in Miami. They're welcoming him. The funny one I thought was the one that was in Denver, where in fact it had a likeness of both Manning and Tebow, and they were actually asking fans to vote in on who they wanted as their QB. Believe it or not, are you ready? Tebow was winning 2-1. So, but anyhow, we know at this point right now, Manning has in fact met with 4 teams. They are the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Titans and the Dolphins. The word we've gotten, I think, is the Cardinals are pretty much, they're out of it. And I'm not quite sure where it's going from there. The word is we're supposed to have a decision, I would think, by probably early December.
We're waiting.
We're waiting. Yes, we are.
But, and, you know, here's what I find ludicrous about this whole thing. Not one team has worked this guy out yet. They're giving up the goods. I heard a rumor today that, you know, he was offered a life contract. You know, and I'm like,
listen,
we don't even know if this guy's going to play.
You know, I sit here in Philadelphia and the sports talk shows have all been going, well, why aren't the Eagles even thinking about it? Be perfectly honest with you, I really don't want the guy.
No.
I really don't. I think it's too much of a risk, but... other major story this week. That big, enormous, monster trade that took place, I guess it was last Friday night, I think it was reported maybe last Saturday, between the Washington Redskins and your St. Louis Rams. And I reported it immediately on our Facebook page as soon as I got word of it. I think it came down, I think it may have come down from Adam Schefter. There were the Redskins trading off, all right, their first round pick for this year, 2012, 2013, 2014. 3 first-round draft picks plus a second-round pick in this year, 2012.
Yep.
To the St. Louis Rams for the overall number 2 pick, which is presumed is held by RG3, Robert Griffin III, the junior Baylor QB. Now, many have criticized the trade as being just way too over the top. And in fact, there have been some that have indicated they're concerned it's setting a deadly precedent for the future. What you're thinking on that one? Of course, I'm probably throwing this one in right into the lion's den because you're just going to sit there and say, "Hey, it's great."
Well, as a Rams fan, you know, it's all peachy to me, but it's ludicrous. I mean, do we cheat him and how? I mean, Fisher pulled off a robbery on this man. I'm sorry, I don't see it. It just boggles me how much they're willing to throw away just to get this pick.
Well, I asked the question on our Facebook page. I put it up a couple of nights ago. You know, do you think, in fact, it was just over the top? I, for one, if I were in the Redskins seat, I would have done the exact same thing. To me, it's worth the gamble for RG3. That's just my personal opinion, and I don't have a problem with it. But that's where I stand with it, and you're going to reap the benefit. Hopefully, your guys make the right picks over there.
Well, we only traded down from the 2nd to the 6th pick. We've got
it's all the other first round that you're going to be getting.
We've got either it's 3 or 4 in the top 40 picks.
Yeah.
So we ought to, hopefully Fisher drafts well. We get some good picks.
I think you've done pretty well. Let's drive on over and take a look at what happened in NASCAR last week. We did have a race there in Las Vegas. The Las Vegas Motor Speedway. One of the newer 1.5 mile tracks just opened in 1996. And for our fantasy players out there, all 30 or plus more of you, in the end, last year's Sprint Cup champion Tony Stewart won that race. Jimmie Johnson came in second. Greg Biffle was third. Ryan Newman was fourth. Carl Edwards came in fifth. And we now have a leaderboard that will be running up here over the course of the season for Sprint Cup. I find it interesting. Greg Biffle, I really didn't expect that one. He's had 3 top 5 finishes already in the first 3 races.
You know, last year when we went through the fantasy thing, you know, we all complained.
Yeah.
You put Biffle on your team and he just bombs out. So we're all staying away from Biffle this year.
Yeah.
And he's getting quite a record going here.
Not kidding.
You know, we may have to relook it.
I might be putting Biffle on 1 or 2 of my teams upcoming. Kevin Harvick, 115. Denny Hamlin, 113. Dale Jr., 107. He's had a nice start to the season. Matt Kenseth, 102. It's still early, obviously, in the season. I'm expecting this thing to be changing every week. Next week, we're going to be at Bristol, Tennessee. That'll be covered live on Fox starting at 12:30. Countdown to baseball. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. We are just 21 days away. That's 3 weeks. Temps around here at the frat house for the past couple of days have felt like, hey, they could start tomorrow, in my opinion. It'd be okay with me. NBA leaderboard. Let's take a look at where things stand. And, you know, I said last week, Bulls are the #1 team in the NBA. Last night proved that. Let's get it straight. The Bulls played the Heat head-to-head, and they came away with it 106-102, and really, in my opinion, I'm sorry, it wasn't even that close in the final score. Where do we stand at this point? Chicago Bulls are the #1 team. They've got a 36-9 record. They're 9-1 in their past 10. Oklahoma City Thunder, 32-10. Miami Heat, 31-11. They're make no mistake, Miami Heat are a great team, but they're not the #1 team. Not right now, anyhow. San Antonio Spurs, 28-13. The Lakers took over in the Pacific Division this week, 27-16. They are 7-3, and that's what jumped them up. They're 7-3 in their last 10. The Philadelphia 76ers are holding tight up there at the Atlantic Division. They won 3 of their last 4. I was kind of hoping I was going to be able to say they were 4. They had won all 4 of their games in the past week, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. So those are the current standings, and we'll keep you up to date on that one next week.
So, just point of conversation here. Can we now put the nail in the coffin for Jaromir Jagr and the Knicks?
I would not. I wouldn't.
I mean, because they seem to be on a slide here.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, look, you just had the coaching change going on over there rather unexpectedly just the other day. Fallout coming from that. I wouldn't put any nails in Jaromir Jagr's coffin. Absolutely not. In fact, I wouldn't put any nails in the Knicks' coffin. Period. Don't roll them out just yet. Not yet. NHL leaderboard.
Here we go.
Keeps moving, man. It keeps moving. All right. I was going to say we've had some minor changes, but in your case, a major change.
Yes.
St. Louis Blues, okay, not only leading the pack right now in the NHL, but in fact, I posted, they're leading in the power rankings in the NHL this week.
Yep.
They are atop the NHL with 98 points. In some respects, I'm kind of happy because it overtook the New York Rangers,
yep,
who are still sitting there at number 2 with 95. Vancouver Canucks, 92. Boston Bruins and the Dallas Stars are tied there at 83, and the Florida Panthers at 79. And I still contend there is a tremendous difference, in my opinion, between that number 1 and that number 16. 98 points to 79. I'm going to stick by my guns on the Florida Panthers.
And the Blues tonight, with a win, a Calgary loss, and a San Jose loss, will clinch. They'll be the first team to clinch it.
Yeah, can you imagine this one? Where did St. Louis come from, honestly?
Thank you,
All right.
Dan.
We finally worked our way to the 6th and final team that we're going to be taking a look at in the NHL, and that's the Atlantic Division, my favorite division. We're going to be taking a look at them. We got the New York Islanders there. We got the New Jersey Devils, my Philadelphia Flyers, which is why I'm here, Pittsburgh Penguins, and those New York Rangers. And I got to be honest, I mean, it seems like every year you can almost expect 3, sometimes 4 of these teams to make it into the playoffs. And this year is no different. However, those Islanders probably are not one of them, and you're going to talk to us about them.
Nope. The New York Islanders, they're 28, 32, and 11, 67 points. Their leading scorer is John Tavares with 69 points. Their second leading scorer is Pa Parantu with 61 points. And their netminder is Evgeni Nabokov, who's 16, 17, and 3 with a 2.6 GAA.
Yeah, that Islanders team has gone through 5 goaltenders this season alone. 5 goaltenders, and they are minus 47 in the goal differential. New Jersey Devils.
The Devils, yes. The Devils, they're 40, 25, and 5. They've got 85 points. Their leading scorer is Ilya Kovalchuk with 71 points. Their second leading scorer is Patrik Elias with 67 points. And of course, their netminder is Mr. Martin Brodeur, who's 25, 18, and 3 with a 2.42 GAA.
And that Martin Brodeur is also just a couple of weeks away from being 40 years old. Can you imagine that? When you look up and down this team, they are loaded. This team, do not rule out the Devils yet from making the playoffs. That's why I say it's possible we could have 4 teams going to the playoffs. When you look up and down their lineup, you got Zubris in there, you got Sikora in there, you've got some terrific names. Jumping over to those Philadelphia Flyers, 40, 22, and 7 with 87 points. Going back and forth, back and forth. We've had some goaltending issues, and that's really, I think, what's kind of stifled this team a little bit. Up and down a little bit. But you got Claude Giroux over there with 80 points. 80 points, 25 goals.
Start playing with some jam.
Yes, they are. They are playing with some jam. 25 goals, 55 assists does Giroux. Scott Hartnell, 32 goals, 28 assists for 60 points. But I got to tell you, somebody that jumps out at me, another 40-year-old guy on this squad. How about Jagr? Jaromir Jagr has been pure gold for those Philadelphia Flyers. Honestly, 18 goals, 28 assists. He's got 46 points, all right? Just absolutely incredible. Bryzgalov he's starting to get his together, all right? Finally. Bryzgalov, 28, 13, and 6 with a 2.53 GAA. Flyers will be there in the end. Pittsburgh Penguins. Allegedly, we've got Crosby starting tonight. We didn't get any late word that he was backing out, all right? So, but nonetheless, Crosby has only played 8 games this entire season. That's it. In those 8 games, however, guy had 2 goals and 10 assists for 12 points, amazingly. But it's been Malkin that has been holding that team down while Crosby's not been around. 38 goals, 46 assists for 84 points Malkin has been. He's been a one-man team, that's it. James Neal, 31 goals, 34 assists, 65 points. And Marc-Andre Fleury has just been really tremendous. 37 wins, 14 losses, 3 overtime losses, and a 2.26 GAA. This Pittsburgh Penguins team, 9-game winning streak they're on right now. They are 9-1 in their last 10. New York Rangers, nobody seems to be able to beat them. Thankfully those St. Louis Blues are ahead of them, but honestly, nobody seems to be able to beat these guys. They are led over there by Marian Gaborik, 34 goals, 30 assists, 64 points. Brad Richards is coming in there second, 23 goals, 30 assists, and 53 points. You can't leave out Ryan Callahan. Lundqvist has just been incredible. Of course, you were updating me on some of the GAA numbers, but absolutely incredible. 32 wins, 14 losses, and 5 overtime losses. He's got a 1.88 GAA. You're telling me that's third?
That's third overall. He leads the leagues in shutouts with 8, and he's got the second best save percentage.
Guy's incredible, absolutely incredible. This Atlantic Division, good one. Keep your eye on it. That's our look at the NHL. We're going to close it up this evening. We had a lot of good feedback on the 5 weeks that we did on our biggest hero, or actually our biggest villain series that we did in all of the major sports. And so the comments coming back to us from our Facebook friends was, hey, you got to reverse that. Let's take a look at the biggest hero. And that we're going to do. We're going to start next week, and we'll take a look at 5 weeks in a row. We're going to start next week with our biggest hero in football. All right? And we're going to tell you who ours is next week. But you've got a whole week to get on our Facebook page and tell us who yours is. Who's your biggest hero in football? Let us know. All right? In the meantime, keep it real. Keep it live. Keep it going. See you then.
Kentucky, Baylor. A lot of athleticism, a lot of length. You've got Perry Jones III against Anthony Davis. What do you think?
I'm still going with Kentucky.
Clash of styles. They're going to want to run. They're going to want to keep it in the half court.
This one, I'm going with Missouri. Izzo's terrific. I think the perimeter play of Missouri right now is outstanding.
All right, Syracuse against Ohio State.
I like Ohio State.
So far we've got 2 #1 seeds going down in the Elite 8.
Right.
In the Midwest, North Carolina, Kansas, Roy Williams against his former team.
I'm just a sucker for the Tar Heels. What can I tell you? I am worried about Henson. This is all premised on Henson being able to play.
Let's do your national title game.
The national title game is going to be Kentucky versus Tar Heels.
All right, before we do the winner,
Yep.
Year 1, North Carolina, you were right, they win.
Yeah.
Last 2 years, you've gone Kansas.
They broke my heart each
Yes.
year. I told Self that when I saw him. I said, Coach, come on, man. You're killing me.
What are you going to do?
I am going with North Carolina. They're an older team, more experienced team.
All right.
And since they won it for me the last time I picked them, hopefully I'll be able to get a little redemption for the last 2 years.